Yeah, I don't know, man. You ever just feel like life is just catapulting towards some greater purpose?
Average fat cats with bloated ego. We are the only DJ crazy enough to tattoo Jackie Brown on his ass.
This is Michael Mann, and I ride with
Extended Clip.
Welcome to Extended Clip. It is episode 441, and I'm one of your hosts, Eddie Averill.
I'm Malcolm Baum.
I'm JT White.
And joining us on the couch today, a filmmaker whose recent feature, I believe I mentioned on a segment recently, and is playing at Whammy about a week after this episode releases, the director of Medieval Times, Devon Daniel Green. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me. I love this podcast.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. And I'm sure you say that to all the girls. So today we are talking about a film by Jon Jost, Frameup. His 1993 film is what you wanted to talk about because rather than go, step by step through your film, which is awesome, and people, when they get a chance, should check it out. It's not like it's available for people right now. So it's like maybe as a little preview, we could talk about something that you find inspirational. And so why was it this Jon Jost film that you felt like recommending?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this specifically because it's a film that I really fell for when I saw it a few months ago. It was part of Bleak Week, which, if any listeners don't know what that is, it's a series that happens here in LA that the American Cinematheque puts on. And it's what it sounds like. It's a lot of just like the gag is that they do a week of depressing films. It's all kind of like Bellatar style despair. And then they play Paddington and Paddington 2 as a double feature at the end of it, which I think is kind of like the meme-worthy thing that everybody loves about it. But yeah, I've been going for a few years, and they did a whole Jost retrospective, and Frameup just like blew my fucking mind. It's a great movie, and also very related to Medieval Times, the film I just finished. Not explicitly a Godard ripoff is what I would categorize this as,
but
which is
it's
kind of
an incredibly Godardian movie.
It is. Yeah, it's I mean, what I love about it is it exists at the exact intersection of like the kind of American independent cinema that is referencing Godard kind of gratuitously and sort of like 90s style like video art. Like he just really like lands in that zone, and that's kind of where I found myself working a lot too. I also just think the phenomenon of, Godard homage, Godard ripoff is kind of like a weird under-discussed thing, especially in American movies. There's like, I mean, for me, the Frameup is like the best case version of this as a phenomenon. I think, Greg Araki has done this a little bit. This isn't American, but Gaspar Noé like does this too with the title cards, which is like, in my opinion, the bad version of this.
Yeah, sure. I think what stands out about this is that he's paying homage to later Godard films than the first 5 years of his career, which is what most people seem hung up on. Where this one, the rhythms of it feel closer to his quote-unquote return to narrative cinema in the early 80s. Films like, I almost said Keep Your Right Up, but that's late 80s. But Every Man for Himself, First Name Carmen, Hail Mary. Films like that are what I'm reminded of with this, but also I think it should be mentioned that this film was shot on 35 millimeter, but like it only exists in like a shitty video rip basically, so it looks on YouTube like a shot on video movie. But despite its incredibly shoestring budget, it was shot on 35 millimeter film, So I would love to see what it like actually is supposed to look like. But regardless, that texture of it does evoke that 80s Godard period where he is integrating video stuff into his work, particularly in those like essay films. And then there's, the cuts to black in between title cards and stuff like that, and the discordant editing and overlapping dialogue and so many formal qualities that you could point to, and kind of like points of attitude that you could look at as being very Godardian. JT, do you have any experience with Jon Jost going into this one?
Not particularly. Yeah, I went into this incredibly blind. not exactly knowing what to expect, knowing that he mostly does shot on video, despite the fact that this is not a shot on video thing. He mostly has worked in video, right?
From what I could tell, this was one of his last. If I remember correctly, from what I was reading, this was his last thing he shot on film, and then went to tape, and then eventually digital.
Yeah, because
I could be wrong about that. But do you know the answer on this?
Despite picking this and loving Jost, and both as a filmmaker and as a personality, which is something I hope we get to talk about a lot later too. I'm relatively new to his filmography. I think I've only seen 4 or 5 films, but even with just that small sampling, it's obvious that he's been active for like over 4 decades, and his work really, every single decade of his work, he makes these kind of like hidden masterpieces that are all completely emblematic of the style of like independent film and DIY film at the time. So yeah, like at 1993, he must have been transitioning out of 35.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, like Frameup has so much stuff in it that feels specific to the medium of kind of like shot on video or even video art. The thing that I love is like it starts off right away with this gag of like the main character being processed in a police station, and we see the 2 sides of his mugshot where he's facing the camera and then in profile, and it's like a great, just like kind of visually interesting image, but then those 2 frames start speaking to each other and monologuing over each other, which is like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of another movie to use that gag, and it's shocking to me that it took that
because
long.
they're monologuing over each other, but they're also playing into one another, where like one guy is saying, what do you shut up over there, and he's like hitting the wall that the other version of him is against. So it's like it's that discordant form of 2 people talking over each other that Jost later uses with the couple's internal monologue, but here it's just like 2 versions of the same guy getting his mugshot done. And yeah, I've definitely never seen anything quite like that. And I feel like Jost is just kind of getting at certain things that Godard was also getting at in both the later 60s as well as the 80s with his return to narrative, with this very, very heavily Brechtian breaking down the walls of artifice and like really interacting with the audience and like finding the tools of cinema to do that, such as direct address and this really dry form of voiceover, which we haven't mentioned, but the way these people talk is insane. Like it's this very clipped but slow style of talking, like someone who's reading a script for the first time, whose reading comprehension levels are that of a middle schooler. And if you look up like any plot summary of this movie, it'll describe both characters as dim-witted. And I kind of like that. It's like if Godard made a remake of Badlands about 2 people with 45 IQs, and it's like very successful at evoking that. It's just, I can see why some viewers might get really frustrated at that.
Yeah, it is funny, like looking at the descriptions, like they're really going hard at the characters. It's like 2
dumbass losers.
2 dumbass born losers find each other because they have nothing fucking else to do, and then I think it's described as on Letterboxd in the description as like a tragic comedy, and like I feel like there is definitely funny aspects to it, but it is like, I don't know, I kind of find myself less like, look at these dumb yokels speaking themselves in circles again. It kind of is more transfixing in a sense, like for the reasons you said, kind of like the slow way that they talk. And I don't know, like I feel like it's kind of like, I kind of do like in movies where, characters are kind of less, so witty and smart, and kind of a director kind of goes for kind of more of a, I don't know, like a realistic type of character. And maybe these people, you might think they're a little bit too dumbed down to say realistic, but I don't know, like they're, what preoccupies them and what they think about and what they talk, it all feels kind of more real than, I don't know, like most movies in a sense.
Well, also another aspect of this movie that we failed to mention so far is just how like filthy it is and how sex driven these people are. And at one point, the guy, the character of Ricky Lee, these two characters are Beth Ann and Ricky Lee, who get their nice title card introductions of him and her. And, you know, their relationship basically revolves around, you know, getting by one place to the next and fucking along the way as much as they can. And at one point, Ricky Lee says that he thinks that coming is a reset on the human brain, and that's why people like to fuck so much. And you know, if someone really has nothing to live for, maybe they do just get by resetting their brain 10 times a day. You know, like I kind of found that moving in a way, or at least depressing, despite the fact that the way he describes it in the moment is quite funny. I mean, the vulgarity in this movie is always pretty funny, in my opinion.
I agree, and I think that that's kind of what blew me away is with all the like formal invention in this movie. There's also this like great narrative sleight of hand going on too, where it really purposefully at first invites this reading where you're kind of just like, how much is this movie just kind of like shitting on these people? It's like Badlands for boneheads. Like how much is the whole point of this just to laugh at these idiots? But then by the time we get through this whole journey, I feel like Jost has just given so much care, so much space to both of their humanities, their worldviews, and at the end, their deaths. It's like truly just like, we get to see them in moments of insecurity. We get to see them like express their hopes and dreams in these great, you know, sprawling monologues, especially from Beth Ann, who has the like very zombie-like droning voice. Who that actress Nancy Carlin was there at the Los Feliz screening, and you know, she's a very intelligent, smart woman, and she discussed the voice. That was like one of the first things they talked about. So obviously a deliberate choice, but yeah, it's kind of just crazy how much like going back to the Badlands thing. It just feels like Badlands is this movie that takes like these archetypes of like a romantic view of like American like rugged individualism and turns it into a fairy tale. And I feel like Frameup is just kind of like graffiti written on a bathroom wall in a truck stop or something. That's the kind of person that Jost is interested in portraying in this movie. And it's not just like keeping them under a bell jar, kind of like a scientific view of like what's with these yokels. It's like he knows these people. He's actually interested in them.
Well, it's weird because they're real people, and yet they're also symbols in the way that in Badlands they were very much real people and symbols. And Badlands is this, you know, super postmodern movie about a man trying to make his own image in the guise of James Dean, you know. And then this one, it almost seems like the Ricky Lee character is literally trying to do Badlands, you know, crossed with whatever the Ramones or whatever his aesthetic influence
I was going to say,
is.
I'm sure this is 100% an accident, but like, did you guys think that Ricky Lee looked like G.G. Allen at certain points?
Gigi, I did not think of, but you know what? I could see it. Gigi was a bit wider.
But that mustache and the sunglasses, which he keeps on like during and after sex.
Yeah, I think now that you say it, the fact like that scene where the camera pans down to his erect penis that has the wow/mom tattoo next to his gun, while he's regaling Beth Ann with some tales, with some hardcore facts of life. Like
a monologue about money.
Yeah, it's a
saying,
very
like,
G.G. Allen moment. Like,
but
for sure.
Was from what I remember, you know, G.G. Allen wasn't quite packing as much as this guy. Not to meet off, you know, not to you know, make people compete or anything like that.
Look,
Well, you just wanted the record to be clear.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the other thing. It's an unfair advantage. One guy is, you know, priming the pump for a movie scene. G.G. Allen, you see him like half dead on heroin, throwing shit at himself. Like, obviously, he's not going to be giving peak performance down there.
That should be on the
also
record
like
as
he's
well.
in front of a crowd of like 200 people who specifically showed up to see him be flaccid and have shit thrown at him. So
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? into
You
your
guys are right.
brain.
You guys are right. I'll take it easy on GG. We haven't seen him in peak performance, so we can't really speak on it.
He's alive
you know?
still, I think.
He is.
You think there's
I just
a
wanna
like
start
Tupac style?
yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this. Sluts in the City by Gigi Allen. Yeah, like that sex scene, also the fact that like this character is so deep seated in his convictions of this, like, you know, conspiracy, money is the root of all evil 101 kind of thing, that it starts with him going off on this tangent while he's getting his cock sucked, and then it cuts to like the images of the $100 bill, and then it cuts back and she's just like next to him listening, implying that like he was just like, you don't have to, you know, let me lay down the law real quick. And I love that for a guy who is so, you know, cum brained, as from his own definition, basically. You know, everything revolving around the cycle of his brain resetting every time he nuts. Like, so that goes to show how much he cares about that monologue he gives about money, even if it is a very simplistic one. The convictions are felt.
Yeah, and like with these two characters, right? They kind of feel like, you know, like hopelessness in desolate America, where the guy, he only thinks about sex and, you know, kind of like violence, right? As we get at the beginning mugshot monologue, he talks about like killing his neighbor's cat and cooking it up and trying to give it to the neighbors. And then Beth Ann?
Beth Ann.
Beth Ann. I had her I wrote it down as Beth, but I wanted to say her full name out of respect. Beth Ann, you know, she kind of has, you know, she gets into some more existential moments as the movie goes on, but she kind of, you know, she's kind of in the romance novel world a little bit, and that's what's kind of shaping her point of view. And, you know, those are, you know, there's kind of a real kind of emptiness to their relationship. And I don't know, just the way that's expressed through like the formal qualities and kind of like the monologues they give on screen. And especially like, I feel like that scene where they're driving and we get like their two,
That 10-minute unbroken take that starts with dual voiceover and turns into dialogue.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's like, I was enjoying the movie, but that scene, like, really, like, I was really kind of taken aback by
another scene that ends with a blowjob.
Yeah.
One of the formal qualities, the aforementioned one of the aforementioned reasons why this movie is so interesting is there are multiple scenes that are shown in like a kind of collage style. Firstly, you know, we already discussed Ricky Lee's intro. Beth Ann's intro, on the other hand, she has like what looks to be her in the frame of like a school yearbook photo, but it's her, you know, in motion in this little frame talking, and then on the other side of the frame it looks like a little like scrapbook kind of collection with some writing going across the page, as well as some other like memorabilia of her youth. And then the scene of Ricky Lee picking her up at the diner, it's this top-down shot of just him fixing coffee, like putting cream and sugar in coffee and ashing cigarette butts on the diner table. And we kind of return to this top-down imagery later on in the film with like maps interceding it and other like real objects that feel like you know, truly collage style. He's using 35 millimeter film as well as printed objects in a interactive way that recalls Godard, Peter Greenaway, a number of other filmmakers. And it's I mean, really not too many other filmmakers. It's a pretty unique thing, but like calling to mind guys like that, pretty high quality, you know.
Yeah, the visual effects on that sense, also just the use of like monologue and like voiceover narration, like direct address, like all of that reminded me of, there's this filmmaker who worked, like, I guess still alive, Mark Rappaport. He did Rock Hudson's home movies, the journals of Gene Seberg, and all of his obviously very different styles. There, I'd say, is more like traditional narrative content in the movies of his that I've seen, but it does have that similar like slow kind of quality, working like both filmmakers on basically nothing budgets. And again, like watching this on like YouTube quality, like having that video look like Mark Rappaport was someone who I thought of like instantly outside of Godard.
I really agree with the Rappaport comparisons. Everything you guys are saying too is kind of like what, aside from just loving the movie as a standalone object, it's like it's what attracted me and excited me about it so much is the way that like the formal invention is kind of there because of the lack of budget, but you never think of it that way because what he comes up with is so compelling that it feels kind of better than if he just shot a traditional scene. Like Eddie, you're talking about those tableaus, those like overheads that show these split frames with the characters talking or voiceover, and then these kind of like time lapse montages of different objects. And yeah, there's that first one that's like Beth Ann's yearbook, and it's sort of her talking about high school. Oh, my boyfriend left me for this girl with bigger tits than me, and then then someone set my cat on fire and all this stuff. And then there's another one that's the same idea, the tableau, and I think it's supposed to be like a diner counter, but like it's not the Ricky Lee one. It's like a Beth Ann diner counter, and she's more talking about life since high school. And you see all these different objects showing up: keys, cigarettes, kind of like these like totems of adult responsibility, and how much she's struggling with like the next steps of her life. And it's, to me, seeing that sort of like journey into adulthood and the growing pains portrayed in that experimental way was way more moving and compelling and fascinating than if it was just kind of like we got a shot of her getting picked up after high school by this guy or whatever a normal movie would do.
Also, I think like he's self-conscious about the use of symbols in that sense, where in one of those kind of time lapse collage kind of things, seeing a cigarette pack and an ashtray float by is different than having a cliched scene of a young Beth Ann start smoking, or even just like smoke a random cigarette, she's not doing James Benning 20 cigarettes style, but who knows? There's some Benning-esque shots in this as well. There's one shot that reminded me of Benning and one that reminded me of who did Wavelength again? Was that
Michael something?
No, not Snow.
Oh.
Is it Snow? Yeah, it is
Snow.
Michael Snow. Yeah. Michael Snow, Wavelength, that long zoom, because there's that shot in this that's through the window of a motel into the ocean. That's just like a very vague impressionist landscape of just like 3 lines of blue and white. And it keeps slowly pulling back until you realize, it's the ripples of the ocean through a window. And then it's this like perfect tableau shot of the 2 lead characters framing the window. And yeah, it just kind of reminded me of like this one little scene is into itself, this micro not really durational film, but like structuralist film almost. And it's like Jost is approaching each of these segments as one little structuralist experiment kind of. And yeah, as you said, like that relates to not having the budget to shoot traditionally narrative scenes. And it takes someone who has a very like, creative mind, set of references, and sense of resourcefulness to pull something off like this, I think. JT, as we start to wrap up on this segment, any final thoughts on this movie and a bullet rating on a scale of 1 to 5?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go 4 bullets. Like really going into this blind, knowing nothing about Jost. It really did excite like a passion, and I could see why like you would want to dive further like immediately after getting into his work, Devon, because I don't know, I just think like working with those small budgets and using them in, like you were saying, creative ways to the point where you're not even like thinking about potentially like the limitations being some of the reason for the formal style. But yeah, I don't know. I love that like throughout. Again, it's both like so removed, and that you find like a certain fondness for these characters. I think like in terms of like just like a larger like American critique, we all get frustrated with the shitheads, certainly, but I love the building them out as people. And again, I think it makes the ultimate like execution something that's like pretty powerful and like meaningful, even if like again it's like I don't know, they're pretty fucking dumb.
They're like the kind of dumb people I miss, though. It's like it's so quaint. It does feel like it does the same thing Badlands does, where it's this like time capsule of Americana that's timeless, even though it's so much dumber, and it's kind of like a copy of a copy in a way. It still like pulls off that magic trick.
Also, would you rather have dumb people that are informed by like comic books in a movie they saw 10 years ago, or dumb people informed by like right-wing YouTube podcasts, you know?
That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd rather they be influenced by sex and violence.
Violent video games, maybe?
Violent
Who
video-
knows?
I
It's
miss
not
just
that
like
bad.
seeing people.
This Halo's America.
I miss seeing like Dumbos at the gas station with just like putting Pop Rocks into Jolt Cola and shaking it up, like that kind of dumb person is just like, I would do anything to have that back. Right?
You know, Green Day making a song about Pop Rocks and Coke was dangerous. They should be held accountable for their actions, I think. I think a lot of people, their stomach is exploding.
Is that bad for the digestive tract? All the Pop Rocks?
Well, because it was kind of like a Diet Coke and Mentos situation, I think. But I don't think that would explode in your stomach either. Malcolm, any final thoughts on this movie and a rating?
Yeah, as things go on, like I was kind of saying before, like I really kind of realize what it's trying to do and kind of get into its grooves. And, you know, like it kind of ends with a failed robbery and both of them being executed by the state. And we get a little bit of, you know, in case you didn't get the message, you know, as we see the witnesses to their death, we get some sort of like America style music, right? Something with the America.
It's the Mickey Mouse Club theme
It's
song.
the Mickey Mouse. It's the Star Spangled Banner. The lyrics of the Star Spangled Banner set to the tune of the Mickey Mouse Club
Really?
song.
God
Yeah.
damn.
And then a Mickey Mouse puppet starts to like enter frame from the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
He just
I thought
tries
that was a boom mic at first because the like bad quality on the, and I was like, wait, is that? Oh, it's a puppet. Okay.
Yeah. Damn, Mickey Mouse appearing in this movie.
Yeah. Jost was calling out the Mickey Mouse culture years before that was a term for that. You know.
Yeah. Damn, yeah, they should be alive. It's Mickey Mouse that they were execute. That a Mickey Mouse execution by the state. And
Maybe is that also perhaps a reference to the end of Full Metal Jacket? It would Jost reference Kubrick like that? That's the song they're chanting at the end of Full Metal Jacket.
True. I remember seeing the term Mickey Mouse in like, I can't even remember, but like an older piece of writing, and I'm like, wait, this is, I mean, it makes sense since you know, Disney's been
You just
around
thought
for
it
a while.
only started in like 2020 when LeBron
Basically,
won
yeah.
the title in Orlando.
I thought sports fans invented that.
It honestly kind of comes down to how much Jost like secretly disdains Kubrick.
Yeah.
Because this is the other thing, and I hope we have time to get into this. Is
No,
just
we got-
how much of a fun troll that he is.
Yeah,
I've seen a little bit of
absolutely.
that. Yeah. You know, he's almost as fun as his nephew, Colin Jost, on the Weekend Update. You know, they gotta link together and make something epic.
Yeah, he's got to get that Uncle Dowry going.
Uncle
where, like he's
Dowry.
just like, yo, Scarlett, give me a bag. You know? I'm trying to
Or
make a movie.
he does a segment on Weekend Update talking about cinema or whatever.
Yeah, right.
I
know.
Just remake Frameup with ScarJo and Colin.
Wow,
I would love
damn.
that, yeah.
The
Michael Che executes them both.
the big budget version, you know, the rom-com version, you know, maybe it's something we might need to see. But the way these characters, they kind of get like their, you know, Beth Ann gets her kind of existential moments, you know, kind of when she has her monologue about the ocean and it reminding her of, you know, her mortality. And, you know, even Ricky, probably a less sympathetic character, but, you know, he has his monologue about money. And, you know, you could just kind of tell he's, you know, kind of been shaped by, just having nothing to look forward to, in a sense. And then the way they're kind of strapped up, executed in a split screen, and you kind of see them kind of wriggle and die. And then what really got me was Beth Ann's kind of post-death monologue and how
Incredible.
Incredible. She's
Yeah.
her face is superimposed over dirt, I guess. Because I thought it was stars at first. I thought it was like the night sky, and I was like, no, I think that's dirt. Actually,
It's the kind of thing where like watching it on the YouTube video rip is like better than the 35 millimeter because you have like a sensory experience like that. It
also reflects a shot from earlier in the film where her face is in profile over a body of water giving a monologue. That was the first image that completely just like blew me away in this movie.
Yeah, and the way that she's kind of talking about what it feels like to die, and then it kind of cuts abruptly and it fades to white, and I was just like, oh, that's one of the best endings I've seen in a while. Like, I really, really like that. And just where the movie kind of starts out and where it ends up, even though you could predict it narratively, obviously the formal qualities and kind of the things that they discuss really bring it to another place. Also, the little bit of real life footage of the woman talking about getting held up.
That was great.
That was really interesting right after the hold up. And I really enjoyed this movie. I want to get into more Jost, and I'm going to give it 4 bullets.
All right, and our guest of honor, Devon, any final thoughts on the movie? And we'll save the Jost Facebook thing for after we give our ratings, because I have his write-up of a recent incident on WordPress pulled up on my phone right now.
Okay, I'm really looking forward to that. I got to give this one 5 stars. I mean, we're doing bullets.
Bullets.
Yeah,
I'm putting all the bullets in the
clip away.
chamber on
Yeah.
this one.
This is a gun-themed podcast.
The viewers can't see this,
gun-themed
but there are
podcast.
just like racks all over the house.
Yeah.
They're just various assault rifles. And,
I have an AK in my hand, and I'm smoking a blunt, and while I'm recording.
I say that I record in the valley, but when I say valley, I mean the Santa Clarita Valley. And I live with cops.
This isn't a gun, but I'm wearing one of those like gas masks that's a bong, just so that like all the air that I breathe is weed. As for final thoughts, I mean, just everything you guys are saying is just, I could just keep adding to it. Like, Malcolm, the stuff you were saying about the death scene, it just fucking blew me away, especially because, like, he's riffing on Godard. And we've mentioned a million other filmmakers in reference to this already, but it's like that death monologue just for me was like, this kind of like blows Bergman out of the water. This is just
very Bergman-esque.
it feels like something that's just like, he's not even, his thing isn't being obsessed with death, and he still wrote this monologue that's like, I don't know, like, it's simultaneously the most comforting and the most upsetting, like thoughts about death that you could have. If I was having a bad trip, like worrying about death, the first half of Beth Ann's monologue right there is just incredible. It's just kind of like, there's nothing to worry about. It's like, dying sucked, but now that I'm here, it's great. And it's like it's said with all this authenticity, so you really believe her.
You're like, damn, should I die? That sounds pretty sick.
No, we all thought that when we were watching.
Well, that's why they played this Bleak Week, because it makes you want to die. I speaking of that, I think the one Bleak Week screening I saw a couple years back was Workmeister Harmonies. Yeah, that's a tough sit. That one was but it's not as bad as Satan Tango. Satan Tango, I actually like. I think it kind of holds it from being.
When
like
did
a
you see Satan
masterpiece.
Tango?
American Cinematheque 2018, maybe.
Was that the Egyptian?
No, Arrow.
Okay.
It was at
I
the
saw it at the
Arrow, and
Egyptian.
there were like 2 or 3 intermissions.
Nice.
But anyway, I really had a Bleak Week style double feature today, watching this and Storytelling by Solons back to back. That was a rough 3 hours right there, to be honest. That was a sobering 3 hours, if you will. But in terms of the combination of influences from the classic European art house to the more like out there festival circuit quasi avant-garde filmmakers that we've referenced, as well as just like not typical, but more out there Hollywood narrative filmmakers that we've referenced. I think this film gives you really a little bit of everything and puts up its guards a little bit, with the affected speech and the discordant editing and everything. But once you, the viewer, kind of break through that within, whether it's 5 or 20 minutes into the movie, and can really lock in onto its rhythms, I think it's really great. And I would kill to see a print of this, or a real restoration of it. And okay, so we were going to go to another segment, but I think what we need to do before we move on to any other kind of segment is talk about Jon Jost's antics, because some of us have seen, screenshots from his Twitter appear on other social media places. And there was a fight recently at an American Cinematheque screening
So he's around. He's a Los Angeles local.
and he's throwing fists.
He's throwing
What?
fists.
He's not a local, so this is one of the coolest things about this guy is that he's in his 80s, but essentially anywhere that will screen one of his films, he will travel out and he'll basically sleep anywhere. Like for the Bleak Week screenings, he stayed at my friend Chris Shields' house, just like couch surfing. And I texted him before this podcast begging him to give me any actual details, like any kind of juice about.
How's he
and
like
he
his
was like,
coffee?
I have something, but I'm not going to tell you beforehand, which I'm sorry, that's very cruel, but I think he's respecting this, which I totally respect that too, but I'm not going to know what that is.
We don't need to air out his dirty laundry, but we'll
he likes doing that himself.
Yeah. We'll read his public post.
Well,
That's
because
fair
I was
game.
reading, I was scrolling through his WordPress, and in his travels, he seems to say often and I was staying with my new friend, blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, so these, he's relying on the kindness of strangers, which is very admirable of those strangers and very humanistic of him, I would say. But regardless, so what do you know about this Rosenthal character? So he was a guy that apparently maybe had a producer credit on one of Jost's films, and then since has been, from what I can gather, has been trying to flag him down and do something with him, and Jost just wants nothing to do with him. Is that proper background on the story?
I really don't know any insider stuff on
that.
this.
That is all I could gather from it. So that is the Rosenthal that will be mentioned in this.
It's kind of a Jost versus Rosenthal thing going on here. All right, let's hear it.
So several days later, the screening of The Bed You Sleep In was also good. And by the way, this is from the auteur's WordPress blog that he updates quasi-regularly. Most of the audience had stayed for another kick in the psyche and more bleakness. Bed is a far better film than Surefire, which was shown first in a flawed quasi-restoration. There was no Q&A, but I stayed in the back, and a mess of people came up to give a thought or two. Some say hello, and some outside the cinema, a good 20-plus people stayed to talk, and my friends gathered with me. At some point, I saw Rosenthal headed to the cluster I was with, and I absented myself, though he quasi-shouted, "Congratulations, John," as if I cared to see or hear him. Gathering with a different group, a minute or two later, he again made a beeline to me, clearly looking to talk or something with me. It was stalking. I again left, this time wandering toward those who were not my friends, just film-goers. He shortly followed and approached me, starting to act friendly. Hand out to shake, perhaps. I punched him in the gut. I had my still camera hanging from my neck, which limited my force. He stepped back, a bit doubled up, and I stepped forward to hit him again. He fell back, yelling, "You're a coward! You're a coward!" And as I approached, he fled to his car, which was parked right there, jumped in, and sped away.
Right in front of the Arrow? Great spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest part of that way. Yeah,
this is the
parking right in
tallest
front of the
tale.
arrow. Yeah.
There's also a great set of corresponding pictures here that JT I can send to you in a minute. Him introducing the screening that didn't have the Q&A that led to the kerfuffle, and later that night enjoying a breakfast at Cantor's. You can go and scroll to the side, see him with the big cowboy hat in one, and with a big smile.
Victory
on his
meal.
face.
That I know.
The victory meal.
They fucked up not having him do a Q&A for this because he is a Q&A monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, first off, yeah, he's coming out to Bleak Week, and when he did the intro to his movie, he started crying, faking crying, but people thought it was real at first. And then he just went, "Oh, it's so bleak. I'm gonna fucking kill myself right now." And like totally fucking killed. And then he's just like shitting all over everything. He basically told our whole audience, you guys are like too obsessed with movies. If you're here, you should go find something else to do. He's saying, I don't just dislike mainstream movies, I also hate experimental movies. He said at one point, if your movie has an over-the-shoulder shot in it, you have no business directing. And then someone in the audience pointed out, there's an over-the-shoulder shot in Frameup, and then he turned and said, "Yeah, and it sucked."
This guy's the renegade director we've been looking for our whole lives. We wanted more. We want like 10 more of these guys running around.
If I may continue, after he jumped in and sped away, I made it amply clear I wanted nothing to do with him, not responding to an email he'd sent me a week and some before, going for some screenings in a cheery mood, letting me know he'd see me in LA, along with a list of demands. I did not respond to that message. I consider his pursuit of me, especially when wrapped in his fake friendliness, a mode of harassment, stalking. I note I am far from the only person to see him as a toxic sociopath. And then if you skip down a little more, he says, after just thanking his friends for putting him up in LA, is your friend Jason?
No, that must have been his West Side friend.
Okay,
My friends are on the East Side.
And today, this morning, greeted for solstice with a letter from Rosenthal making threats by indirection and directly. Says he's filed assault charges against me, etc. Should be a fun screening in a few days in LA. As customary, as with our great leader, sociopaths accuse their victims of the acts they themselves have committed. So a little jab at Trump there.
Yeah.
Alongside Rosenthal. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that I don't know who this Rosenthal guy is, but the one thing my friend Chris told me is that Jost apparently went after Jonathan Rosenbaum at one point and called him a hoarder and said that he went to his house in Chicago and it was full of shit.
He was selling a bunch of his books a while ago recently, too.
Damn, were you considering purchasing? You were
No. I mean, I think it's a full process. I don't really care.
Yeah.
He did say yes to coming on the podcast, and then he must have just forgotten that he said yes. Because
I remember you saying this.
He said yes like 2 years ago, and then I followed up like 3 times and never got a response.
Damn. So now we're going to your house, man. We're exposing you for you got a lot of shit in there, man. I might be working for 1-800-JUNK soon. You might see me. No, I don't. But that is, I just like Jost. Just first of all, through that story that Jost writes, makes him seem pretty guilty, at least in the eyes of
I'm
like
on
a
Team
law.
Jost, but I want to hear Rosenthal's side for sure.
Do you know anyone who was there who witnessed this live? Maybe
I remember when it got posted on Twitter, and I can look this up on Mike. Someone posted it saying like, I thought I saw Jon Jost get in a fist fight the other day, but I was like, that couldn't have been it. Yeah. And then I saw this on Facebook, and it was that story basically.
Well, there must be some sort of history. I mean, there obviously is, because it is like, even if the guy's annoying and you don't want to shake his hand or whatever, to respond with a punch in the gut makes me feel like maybe he fucked him over, or maybe Jost is just really rough and tumble like that. He doesn't take any shit.
Are you starting to like get a little bit worried he might come after one of us after this?
Well, if Jost wants it, he could get it, man. But no, I like him. I will help you in your. I'll assault someone for you. I'll help you in your whatever revenge tour you want to go on. Just because I don't know. It's just fun. Hearing, outside the box stuff about directors. Of course, we like when they make good movies first and foremost.
Yeah.
But I'm a sucker for the renegade personalities. The Vincent Gallo antics. I can't act like I'm not entertained by that stuff.
Does anyone know how old the Rosenthal character is? Because I think that must be. I mean, like obviously Jost seems like he's in great shape, traveling everywhere, sleeping on couches. Like at 82, that's a spry young man. But like I would be kind of mortified or embarrassed, like if like an
True.
80-year-old punched me in the gut.
So Henry Rosenthal, and so the reason he's mad at him is that apparently Henry Rosenthal made a deal for a DVD for one of Jost's movies that Jost didn't sign off on.
Yeah.
Apparently maybe there was a handshake deal. He found it to be a betrayal. So this guy is like, he looks pretty good. He looks like he's probably in his early 60s, definitely younger than Jost. Like, he's been around for a while. He produced the last couple docs by that guy Jeff Fierzig, who did like the Devon Daniel Johnston, which is a great documentary.
Yeah.
The one like the JT Leroy doc that was a couple years back, he produced that. Yeah, people also search for Jeff Fierzig and Jon Jost. Glad I covered that. And people also search for Kaveh Zahidi. I wonder what Kaveh Zahidi has done with I don't know, whatever. This is now off the rails a little.
It's so interesting how much Jost's like prolificness kind of contrasts against his like pettiness with all these fights and grudges and things, because I couldn't find a single article that was like everything I looked at, it was like about a retrospective he's having, and every single article essentially said we couldn't get him to come here because he was shooting a movie. Like, this guy's got a billion fucking movies.
Yeah.
You would think that he would just be like, oh, Rosenthal, yeah, he was 8 movies ago, I forgot about him. But he's like, no, I remember that DVD.
Yeah.
I'm coming
Crazy.
after you.
Some Cohen Media DVD that sold 1,000 copies or some bullshit like that, you know. Like,
Well, if Jost didn't get a cut, I mean, I guess I
mean, I would be pissed
Yeah,
too.
I'd be-
That's
yeah.
that's it's a quote. James Caan in Thief. I see the yield of my labor in your pocket.
Eddie, did you actually look at his Facebook, or has this just been the WordPress?
That was from his WordPress, and then I was Googling this Rosenthal guy and going through his credits.
do you have
and
any
stuff.
choice Jost cuts from the Facebook? Or
I don't, because I'm not on it, but I was really hoping, because
Yeah.
I've just heard so much about it. I have a friend in Austin who was just basically like, I had to take a long break from Facebook because of Jon Jost's Facebook. It was just giving me this cautionary tale thing of like,
Yeah.
I can't go this dark. And
I wish I was still. I can't get back on Facebook because I've made and deleted too many accounts and so it's just like
You're banned.
basically,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm on the Facebook right now. Yeah, no, it does. I could see
Read us off some.
why it might be why you'd want to take a Facebook break. The first post that is from like 4 hours ago is a lot about like, or it has a Trump picture on it, and then it starts getting up this morning. I take the gauge of my aches and pains, hip. The last days, I seem to be concluding that the left socket is inflamed, perhaps from some bug thing, perhaps from 82 years of wear and tear. This morning wasn't so bad as day before, but now, hours later, it is sore and a bullet to bite soon.
I was expecting.
what?
That's pretty like diaristic right there. That's pretty. I was expecting, and I was expecting he's got like a Paul Schrader style face, which I guess there's some similarities.
Yeah,
I was
gonna
gonna say, it
expecting
feels
like
like the-
Sinners sucks.
Yeah.
Not my testicles are. Or, is that what he's talking about? Like, my balls are broken. I'm gonna kill
think he said
myself.
socket.
Jesus, man.
His hip. His socket on his hip.
the hip, the balls. It's all
Starting
connected.
to call your balls your socket is kind of good though. I kinda
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna steal that. That's great.
Yeah. Something wrong with my socket lately. Anyway, Devin, I wanted to talk a little bit about this movie, Medieval Times. So this isn't your debut. You've made a movie before, correct?
True.
Yes. How many?
3 shorts and 1 low budget feature.
One, and
this
all
one.
of them are shot on video.
No. The first one I ever made is shot on video, and that one also stars Tucker Bennett.
Nice.
It's called Foodies, and it's about killer kombucha. It's a very like trauma style production, shot on Betacam, on beta tapes, from a camera house that we rented in the Valley, and a fun piece of trivia we found out: this camera was used to film the OJ trial.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's
a
a
blessed
haunted
camp-
camera.
or-
You said
wow.
blessed. I said haunted. I don't know. I'll
Maybe-
see in the editing who gets their word through. You know.
Maybe it's somewhere in between, or you could do a Jost style
Yeah,
both
split-
at the
yeah,
same
exactly.
time.
Yeah,
you know, mono, yours in the left ear, mine in the right ear. You know, just a
How'd you
suggestion.
meet Tucker?
I met him back in Oakland. I've known him for like almost 13 years now.
Yeah.
And I was very intimidated, but I don't want to do too long of a Tucker sidebar. But yeah, I was when I met him, I hadn't made anything yet, and I was just sitting there writing screenplays on Celtics in my living room, and then I was introduced to him, and like he'd already made like 3 features or something at that point, like because he was at the University of Art Institute in San Francisco and just churning shit out. He worked with George Kuchar.
Nice.
But yeah, we became buddies. He moved to LA pretty soon after I did, and then we've just kind of been making stuff side by side since.
Nice. What is it about the video aesthetic versus other modes, you know, that are not film, like low grade digital, for example, or even like Super 8 or something like that? What draws you to the SOV mode? Is it films that you've watched like that, or the creative side on your own?
A lot of it is just the accessibility. It's a great resource when you're having a set where you're asking everybody to kind of be there for free or cheap. You don't want to like waste a bunch of their time, and you could just move so much faster digital video. But yeah, it's also just the entire history of that medium, which I love. I love a lot of like shot on video horror movies. And then this particular Medieval Times was highly influenced by a bunch of kind of like later Godard movies, which are all shot on video. And I feel like people, when they discuss the history of cinema shot on video, kind of forget about that fact that, like, you know, the Mount Rushmore French New Wave guy also was like kicked out of the French film industry post 68 in the wilderness so long that he was just like, you know, what's his wife's name? Anne-Marie Mialville.
Yeah.
She bought him a video camera for Christmas once. I read this in the Brody book about Godard, and that was how he got started. Then he was just kind of like, oh, like I bought this thing just as a toy, and I'm just like fucking around with it around the house, and the next thing you know, I'm gonna make like 20 movies with it. And that's how I feel as soon as I picked it up and kind of started going.
Yeah, that Godard period, really between like, I guess, what, like early 70s up until 1980 when he starts shooting on 35 again with Every Man for Himself, is really interesting. Some of the TV work that he did on video was crazy. The one where it's just interviews with children is really crazy. Yeah, what are your favorite like Godard movies?
Yeah, definitely the stuff from that period. I mean, I like all of it. I do like kind of like the early iconic stuff, but the rise and fall of a small film studio was a really huge one for me, especially with Medieval Times.
I could definitely see that on your movie. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I was just pulling from it left and right. Very inspiring. It has great formal qualities, the video inventiveness, and then it's just kind of really off the rails. There's like the John Pierre moment where he does a monologue and just breaks into Woody Woodpecker at one point. That's very funny. But yeah,
there's the great digression in that movie where Godard and Jean-Pierre Mocky are in the car complaining about how big of budgets Roman Polanski is able to get.
I'm really scared right now trying to like pronounce French titles and names because
That's
I
me
listened
all the time,
to the Owen
man.
episode before I came here, and you guys rightly are like calling out people like Jean Pierre.
The one with Owen Klein, that one.
Yeah.
Well, that was more about using the French title of movies more than anything else. You know, that was the accent thing. Trust me, I've fumbled pretty hard before.
Interesting.
One of the Godards that I want to mention is like one I'm scared to pronounce, which is I think it's Notre Musique.
Yeah,
That's, it's kind of like just.
But you could just say
typical.
our music.
Our music, yeah. It's it just feels like it's the first 2/3 of it are just, you know, typical French New Wave black and white 35mm, and then the last half hour just explodes with the craziest like video color grading I've ever seen. Just stunningly beautiful.
That one is actually In Praise of Love.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah,
you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Notre Musique is about the journalist who goes to the Middle East to attend a conference about Palestine, basically.
I love that one too.
That one is crazy because at that conference, Godard himself is giving a lecture about like shot reverse shot and relating it to Palestine, basically. And it's one of the craziest moments in Godard's filmography, in my opinion. But in Praise of Love, this is actually two movies we've done episodes on.
Yeah.
In Praise of Love, man, when it switches to that oversaturated DV, it's the coolest looking thing I've ever seen.
I feel like people have been chasing after that ever since it came out, and no one's even gotten close still, including himself. Like, that stuff really feels like it precedes the Image Book and Goodbye to Language, which are movies I both love those two, but they still aren't quite as painterly. They still feel like a really exciting riff on a consumer product, whereas like, the Goodbye to Love stuff, it feels like it's being beamed from another planet or something.
Yeah, that's the one I find myself thinking about the most recently is In Praise of Love. Like it really, especially those moments you're talking about, when it switches to the digital, it is just real stunning stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say? It's like the most dense filmography of all time.
Yeah.
it's just, you let one of his movies kind of slip to the back burner for a while, and then you think about it, and you're like, oh man, that might be the best movie ever. Like with the Pierre Le Fou episode we did.
Oh yeah.
On like my big Godard list, which is, it's a futile exercise, but I had it outside of the top 15 or 20. Still, it's like a masterpiece though. And then we watched Pierre Le Fou again. I was like, is this just like the best movie ever made? Like, this is just ridiculous, Yeah. And I do generally prefer the late work too.
That era is great too. I mean,
of course,
we love championing the late era,
Yeah.
but I still think Breathless is a perfect movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think his best era is the narrative return in the 80s, taking what he learned through the Ziga Vertov group and the video experiments of the 70s, and then coming back with Every Man for Himself, First Name Carmen, King Lear, like all those 80s movies are just like insane. Those are my favorite Godard movies. Hail Mary is probably my number one.
The Ziga Vertov.
Those are
recently, they're incredible.
really
Vladimir
harsh
and
too.
Rosa,
Yeah,
so
like those are like those are tests for a lot of people. But then there's some really accessible stuff in the middle of that, like Tout va bien. Tout va bien with Jane Fonda is like one of his more accessible movies, honestly.
I have a Godard take that I don't think I've aired on the podcast.
Sure.
What's the most recent one that was posthumously? Was it Dirty Wars or what was the?
There was Funny Wars and Scenarios.
I can't remember which one. Which are they both? They're both kind of slideshow.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, I think I watched Funny Wars, and maybe why I conflated Dirty Wars. I wanted my comparison to Funny Wars. It kind of reminds me of that comedy special Norm Macdonald recorded in his house before he dies.
I completely get that comparison.
Like that, like do a double feature of that, and tell me that completely tracks.
I think it was the Scenarios
trailer of a film that will never exist. Phony Wars.
That's
How are
what
you guys seeing all
yeah.
of these? I've wanted to see trailer for a film for so long.
Trailer for a film that does not exist, Phony Wars. That screened at a couple of festivals, and then it has surfaced on some private torrent trackers as well. And then the other one, was it trailer for Scenarios or
It's just Scenarios.
Scenarios?
I don't think I've seen that one.
Scenarios I watched before we did our best of 2020s pod and was great. Scenarios is great, but I both of those, like, they're kind of a pair, and both of them were completed posthumously, but basically quote unquote finished on his last day before assisted suicide. So they're complicated texts to say the least, but that more recent one, Scenarios, is crazy. Like, it's I don't want to say straightforward, but like he's pulling back some of the hits in that one. Like, I was surprised at some of the clips he used. I was like, oh, you're giving us the hits.
Yeah,
that's like Bob Dylan opening with Like a Rolling Stone. You don't expect him to do that these days. Also, Godard and Dylan, the ultimate comparison. I think Will Sloan teased at that on one review, and Felipe Furtado kind of continued the thread somewhere about the Christian period of Dylan being the same as like the Ziga Vertov group, and the 90s return of Dylan being like the 80s return to narrative for Godard, and so on and so forth. And they're just my two favorite artists. So
I thought
what do you
about
know?
Godard when Ozzy Osbourne died, because it seemed like that must have been assisted suicide too, in the way that he dropped that final concert a week before or whatever.
True.
that story was.
True.
Yeah. Damn. It is kind of stating the obvious. And he was pretty old, but it does make me sad that Godard killed himself.
Yeah.
It is
Are we really going to go out on this morbid note?
Can I talk about
I think
the
that's
Whammy screening?
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to do that.
let's-
I know how to run. I know how to do the show. I was going to say before we do that, a new segment on this show for our guests. Devon, would you prefer a general rock card, which I looked at the box on this, and it looks like it's a lot of like sleazy 80s hair metal, or some Elvis cards?
God, this is like a real Sophie's choice for me, because I want the sleazy hair metal ones, but I know my girlfriend loves Elvis and will be so happy if I come home with a stack of cards.
Okay. Let's...
So what is the segment? I open them and just enjoy them on air?
I think we're gonna. It's partial. It's a gift, but I think we're gonna unwrap them on air.
Let's do rock cards then, because
let's do the
I'll
rock
have more
cards,
to say about that.
Okay, cool. So the thing is, it's kind of tough. There's gonna be some crinkles. This is the first time we've ever done
It's
a segment
immersive.
like this.
I think people want the crinkles.
Yeah.
People want the crinkles. Okay, so this is. I'm opening a pack of Rock Cards Series 1. The description just says, excellent rock music trading cards.
See, trading cards isn't just for the jocks. There's some, for the rock fans too.
Why did you get into cards recently? I'm just curious.
I you know what? The story comes later. Who do you got there in your deck of rock and roll cards?
Right off the bat, I have the Grateful Dead, which is very
misleading.
triggering for me as someone who grew up in Santa Cruz, California.
Oh, are you? Okay, you guys are
no way.
Bay
Have we
Area
talked
buddies.
about that? I'm from Watsonville.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
My grandparents lived there my whole life, and we'll talk about this more,
Yeah. But let's.
So do you feel the same way about...
Deadheads?
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I was at a bit of a. I don't really know any. I knew a couple Deadhead, but I didn't really grow up in the hippie culture necessarily.
Watsonville isn't hippie the same way Santa Cruz is.
Yeah.
You probably also dodged a big Sublime-shaped bullet of like, it was like Santeria was just playing on like air horns the entire time I was growing up.
People
in the
do
city.
fuck with that style of music over there, though. That is, that does
You
persist.
weren't bumping that song wrong way all the time. Malcolm's 12
There's
years
a lot of
old
these, so I'll try to
and
go like speed round here.
Yeah, read them off.
Patrick Muzingo.
Who's
no
that?
idea who that is.
Does it say the name of his band
Oh,
up
he's
at
in,
the side?
or no. He was influenced by Aerosmith. Junkyard is his band.
This is like a real life pack of baseball cards where they'll give you like some obscure ass players.
I'll say that the Grateful Dead card
Yeah, can I see the Grateful
appears
Dead
to be
card?
kind of like a special edition. You know how they do
Okay.
that?
Yeah, we'll throw in a special
I used to
one for
collect
you. Yeah.
Marvel Masterpieces,
Oh,
and they had
nice.
the like etched ones that were holograms. Yeah, so we got Anthrax. They obviously rip.
Okay.
Joe Lynn Turner. Anyone know? Oh, Deep Purple.
Oh.
No, wait. Yeah, he was in Deep Purple. Ron Afusa. Okay, this is like, these cards are like the drummers. Okay,
Going from the step down from the Grateful Dead to the drummer from Junkyard, Patrick Muzingo, is crazy. That's like
These are all worth it for just the photos of these guys on the back, though.
Oh yeah, that is
very
so
Ricky Lee-esque
sick.
guys.
Yeah, he's cool. He's beautiful. He's a beautiful man.
Yeah. Winger.
Oh, Winger rips.
Yeah,
honestly,
Winger's
if you like mentally challenged rock music.
Jerry Dixon of Warrant.
Oh, okay. A little bit of that, as Tom Cruise said, sweet cherry pie, mama baby. JT, look at this. This is the drummer from Junkyard, the trading card for him. Yeah, and you can see this picture of him on the back. It's very cool.
What are the stats they have on the back?
It says like his influence is Aerosmith and his birthday is September 27th. And, he says that sometimes it takes more than talent to make it in rock and roll. Or no, this is someone's profile about him. Never mind. He was also in the band Decay, and his favorite bands are the Sex Pistols and AC/DC. But he was influenced by Aerosmith.
Influences and favorites are
very different.
It's good to differentiate that.
Yes. Any other highlights from the stack?
Yeah, it got really good all of a sudden. Marty Friedman from Megadeth.
Okay.
Poison, just the band Poison.
Rules.
Alice Cooper, heard of him?
Oh, there we go.
This is a set. You're probably going to want to put this one up on the mantle.
Can I look at the Alice Cooper card?
Yeah, the Alice Cooper
that
one's great.
rules. Oh my god, yeah.
Cozy Powell from Black Sabbath.
Nice.
So these are some bigger names.
Pulling a Sabbath is good. Like
Yeah.
no matter what member, if you're pulling a Sabbath, you're happy. That's like getting Mike Trout in a new pack of baseball cards.
Damn, there's a lot of cards in that pack.
Dude, JT, look at this. Look at this Alice. I almost said Aussie. God forbid. Can't mess up that one. This Alice Cooper is
that's
pretty sick,
sick.
right? Yeah, I like it. And then I like the pose he's hitting on the back too. It's kind of Dr. T-esque.
No.
You see this?
It just needs the head towards the sky.
Yeah, Dr. T, but with like more open crotchedness.
Yeah, exactly. So that is our newest segment. Our in studio guests and maybe occasionally our hosts will get to open and keep some trading cards on the air. And I know that it's not a very visual segment, or it really should be a visual segment. This is an audio podcast, but it's a segment that makes me happy, and it makes me happy knowing that our guests take a little something home to remember us by, and also I am just like suddenly obsessed with the idea of like novelty non-sports trading cards, and was scouring
Make some Godard ones.
I should. I was scouring eBay for like movie ones. And
They have Austin Powers cards that I really want.
I almost ordered the Austin Powers ones, dude. The ones I ordered on eBay are going to take a while, so I just went to the store where my brother would get Pokemon cards just now, and I was like, what movie stuff do you have? And he was like, oh, you like movies? I could do like 50s TV shows like Gunsmoke. Yeah. Like, what, you got Gunsmoke cards?
Yeah.
But like the only TV shows he had was like 50s and 60s Westerns, and then like Batman and like superhero stuff. And Star Wars and Star Trek, basically. So I went with the rock cards instead. Yeah.
Nice.
But maybe by our next recording session, we will be opening up some Beatles cards that were produced in the 90s. Yeah.
Well, how many? There can only be like what, 4?
Well,
of
no,
those
because
cards?
that's the thing. You might get a Pete Best. You might get you might get the City of Liverpool.
Just having no creativity, just 4 Beatles cards. Oh, nice.
There's like a bonus Yoko one that gets in there.
Malcolm running out of the house because he pulled a rookie Paul.
Yeah.
He's like, I gotta go
Oh.
flip this
Actually,
right now.
if you get the special edition McCartney 2 album cover Paul McCartney card,
that would
where
see?
he's making the face.
Now you get where I'm coming from. That's why I want to find these packs of like the Monkeys trading cards.
I think we need to make our own trading cards too. If
That
there's
would
no
be a
film
great
ones out
business.
there.
Yeah.
A Jost
95%
card
sure.
detailing the fight he got into.
Oh, that's awesome.
Two punches to the stomach.
Yeah. Devin.
Just Jost Extended Universe cards.
Oh yeah.
My Beth Ann card.
Yeah.
Dead Beth Ann card.
Nancy Carlin, who played Beth Ann.
So I did look into this like subculture because like sports trading cards, like it's had like another boom in the online and like the YouTuber era and the TikToker era.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of content creators with those, and they all have like the big ring light on them and stuff, and they're all wearing like pristine like gloves to handle the cards and stuff. And they have like the top down camera next to the camera that's on them, so you have the split screen of them placing the card and their face reacting to the card they pulled. Like it's a wild cottage industry because those people are all about like resale value.
Yeah.
I just like the novelty of it. Like I love the idea of like opening up a Beach Boys pack, and like getting an Adidas era Brian Wilson,
Brian Wilson in bed card.
Yeah.
Nice.
One of the stats, how long he was bedridden for.
Yeah.
exactly.
Anyway, your movie, Medieval Times, is screening at Whammy. By the time this comes out, it'll be about a week from then. Give our listeners the lowdown here.
Yeah, so it's playing September 26th, which is the same day One Bottle After Another comes out. So we know what we have to do there, guys. But yeah, it's playing at Whammy Analog in Echo Park. It is part of Shot on Video September, which is a month-long festival that celebrates the past and history and maybe future of shot on video works. My film, as we've mentioned a few times, it's very Godard influenced. It is also influenced by lo-fi scuzzy stuff too. I shot it for $850 on the streets of Los Angeles. The basic premise of it is it takes place in a world where it's like a near future where criminals, instead of being sentenced to jail, are sentenced to act in art films. So it essentially starts with two criminals who are just on set making a Godard-style art movie, and then it just kind of sprawls out from there. It's a huge kind of like ensemble cast of LA regulars, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. It's got a really great
I know what you
reception
have to
so far.
say about it is that it stars friend of the pod, two-time guest Noah Brockman.
True.
Had dinner with him last night.
We love Noah Brockman. I had
He
lunch
rules.
with him like a week and a half ago.
Yeah. And I love the movie, by the way. I didn't say
Thank
it
you.
on the record.
Yeah, Malcolm
but,
and I saw
yeah.
it at an advanced private screening.
Yeah,
because,
no big deal.
it's-
No big
we
deal.
get to show our clout around town once in a while, But yeah, no, it's awesome. And like, I don't make Godard comparisons lightly. You guys know me. Like you can't be. You know how I get triggered by that kind of stuff in a bad way usually. No, this is like, as you said, it's a great mix of like scuzzy SOV kind of stuff. Like if Charles Pinion was watching 80s Godard, this could have been a result of that. And also, who else is on Whammy's calendar for SOV September but Pinion himself, right?
He is, yeah. Twisted Issues. It's I think the only screening that is happening off-site. It's going to be at Brain Dead, and everyone should check that out because that movie absolutely rips.
Yeah, our bros
have you guys
over
ever
at the
covered that? Or?
No, our bros over on Sleazoids just presented a screening of it in Toronto with Pinion there, which sounded like it went amazingly.
I've never seen that one, but I saw, what is it, Red Spirit Lake? Is that what it's called?
That is his other.
Yeah,
most
yeah,
well-known.
and I loved it, so I wanted to watch
Twisted
more.
Issues is way more DIY. It actually, the way that he kind of started, he didn't even conceive it as a film at first. It was just him literally filming his skater friends and punk bands playing in, like, I think Gainesville, Florida, in the 90s, and then slowly was just like, I think there's maybe a narrative to. They all just kind of came up with it together, but it's like essentially a skater revenge horror movie. There's a part where a guy drills a skateboard onto his foot, and that's like the killer's kind of like, it's like his hockey mask or William Shatner mask.
No, I definitely got to check that out. He seems like with the Sleazoids endorsement and what I've seen so far, I gotta watch his shit.
Yeah.
Can I shout out one more?
Of course.
SOV September.
Yeah.
There's a screening. I'm kind of spacing on the title right now, but I think it's Beyond the Seventh Door, and it's playing as part of Canada, which is the series run by Robert Dayton, who is in Medieval Times. He's in the Noah scenes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. The last thing I'll kind of say about Medieval Times and the Godard thing is that there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of like fun, playful homage stuff. But I think what was really fun to actually like discover when I was editing it is kind of just a Godard style rhythm of just presenting information and then just hard cut taking it away really quick. I don't know if this is making anyone want to see the movie actually now that I'm saying this out loud, but I just want to say it's not just superficially Godardian. It's like I really kind of like tried to feel it in my bones. So
No, and I think you accomplished that. I think the aims are far more than superficial.
Yeah, you go beyond influence, man.
Yeah.
There's some real originality.
Also,
in there.
the concept is one that I described the concept to a couple people, and each time I described the concept, I laughed more and more as I said it out loud. Like, it's a future where criminals are punished by being forced to act in art house movies.
This is the future that liberals want.
Yeah, it's extremely fun.
There's a ton of shit we shot in the movie. You know, I took a year and a half just on and off shooting this. There's seriously like dozens of things that have like come true since it was like satire at first. Like I obviously did not plan this out at all, but there's a strand of the film that people keep saying like this reminds me of ICE kidnap videos.
Yeah.
Which is horrifying
wow.
to think that like
the kidnapping scenes, when I mean, that's not exactly what came to mind, but I could totally see it because it's like the mundanity of just like an everyday street, you know, where people are getting kidnapped in your film and in real life. But I mean, to be honest, I don't really want to make that comparison because I found those scenes very funny in your movie, you know?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, I'm probably inviting too much by even saying this. I'm just
No, but I totally
That's what
get
people
what
are
you
saying.
mean. Yeah.
That's what people are saying.
Yeah.
No, but also it's just like the thing is, being funny doesn't mean it can't evoke real things. What was
Yeah.
fucking Eddington? You know, like that
Yeah.
was a hilarious movie that evoked things that were in response to very real tragedies. You know, and so yeah, hey, I guess you're the next Ari Aster then.
Oh, yeah.
that would be great.
Anyway, I think we're gonna wrap it up here then on that note. So go see Medieval Times, and is there any plans for further screenings or anything like that?
There are 2 things coming up that are not finalized enough that I should say them, but I will tell you later because I'm excited.
Okay, I'm excited to hear them. Great. All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. Make sure you join us on the Patreon. $5 a month gets you an extra episode every single week. This month on the Patreon, we're doing some Paul Thomas Anderson. We're doing some. What else are we doing on the Patreon?
The
this
Flowers
month?
of St.
We're doing some Rossellini. We're doing some Solons. Well, we already did some Solons, but if you're not signed up yet, go get the backlog of the Patreon episodes. It's a stacked month, folks. So yeah, thank you, and subscribe to the blog too. Link in description. Goodbye, everybody.